It was with great pleasure that I had the opportunity to speak with and interview I Am Skippy, a YouTube legend. You might be familiar with him from his TLC special of The Virgin Diaries. He's also made some incredible content over his 17 years being a YouTuber, and some of his most notorious videos, of course, are his docu-dates with Taylor and Tracy, as well as many others that he's had over his life. Of course, this time we're going to be talking about films because Skippy is a film fanatic and he is an avid lover of cinema, cinephile, and he's had the opportunity to meet a lot of really big celebrities and had some pretty good stories to tell. So we're going to be getting into those, but we're also going to be talking about pretty much the disaster that is Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, the Disney Plus series. We're going to talk about Marvel Phase 4, Phase 5, the future of Marvel. We also discuss modern day Hollywood because I think we all can agree that it is a disaster, it is in pieces, and there's just a lack of creativity across the board. Now, him and me, I would have to say, probably disagree on a lot of these different points, but I wanted to make sure to give him a platform to talk about it, and I hope you enjoy our commentary on the following topics. So yeah, I thought we'd originally start off by telling me, what do you think of Star Wars? Are you a Star Wars fan? Like, what are your favorite movies, shows? How familiar are you with Star Wars? Because I think there's all walks of life when it comes to Star Wars nowadays, and the fandom is divided, and I think people are just completely distrusting of Disney. So I want your take on Star Wars. What do you think of it?
So I don't know how many people are familiar with me and my channel enough, but yes, I am a famous virgin. I am also a now 21-year veteran of attending the Sundance Film Festival. And the other thing that I am is a person that was born uh, the October in October of the same year that Star Wars 4 was released, A New Hope, right? And so I was my whole life has known of the Star Wars world, and then I got to meet George Lucas in a very blurry photo, but I I was standing closest to his car, and it was the year before I went from taking photos with people using like the throwaway disposable cameras, and like it really was the photo where I was like, okay, for years it was fun taking disposable photos, but I had to get something digital when my best with George freaking Lucas ended up being kind of blurry. So no matter how much Photoshop I've done, it's still like
Oh,
and so I'm not like a nerd of like I haven't been to Comic Cons with it, and I couldn't tell you everyone's name, but like I met Warwick Davis, who do you know who that is?
oh yeah, of course, yeah, Ewoks,
Okay,
yeah, Wicket, yeah.
but not everyone does know that he was Willow, but he was also in, like that he was in the R2D2, as well as being one of the Ewoks as well, and that his sons have gotten to do it. And, I mean, he was in Harry Potter and everything like that. But I, in my years of fandom and being around celebrities, like met him and was within feet of Peter Mayhew, who played the original Chewbacca. And one of my favorite photos of the last 10 years up at Sundance was getting to meet Luke Skywalker
Oh
himself.
man.
So it's exciting to be around that, and especially where in uh, the Star Wars 9, the last of the Rey trilogy, where they talk about in the movie how every 40, so that came out like 3 years ago. So what was it? Every like 43 or 44 years, they say in the movie, this celebration happens. I'm like, hey, that's how old I am because of having been born that same year. So yeah, I mean, like, it's Star Wars. I love it. And whenever you meet someone that is just not familiar enough with pop culture to be into it as much, you're like, wow, how does your brain even work not knowing what a Mandalorian is? Like, how do you function day to day not
Yeah.
knowing who Boba Fett is? Or, I don't know, just things like that where it's like, wow, okay, our experiences
It's
are different
sad, you know. I mean,
because
kids nowadays, they're not growing up watching a lot of this stuff. I mean, the viewership on these Disney Plus series is dwindling. And then we also see, I mean, kids just nowadays, they're just so much more interested in Fortnite and these
yeah,
games that have no story, no development, no character. And I think it's just kind of a shame that the kids are more, more tuned to finding themselves attached to virtual characters that have no real meaning. And I don't know. I guess I'm really curious, Skippy. I think a lot of people are. What do you think of the sequel trilogy? What was your take on them? What was your experience like seeing them in theaters or watching that story unfold? Were you a fan? Like, give us some
I
context.
loved it. I love them. I'm very simple in a sense though, where I when I love something, I want to see it through to the
Mhm.
end, right? And so if someone says like the fourth movie wasn't as good as just only because I was talking with someone about John Wick, where they're like, "Oh, John Wick 4 wasn't as good as John Wick 1," and I'm like, "You can't compare John Wick 1 and John Wick 4 because like at the beginning, John Wick was like still killing people, but by 4 he has this it's like a John Wick cinematic universe kind of thing. I mean, like literally with the show The Continental on I forget which
I think Paramount
streaming
Plus.
service that was, but yeah, but it's like holy cow, there's a whole world that has been built for that, and so it's different than when it started. And same is true with like Star Wars. When you watch like the behind the scenes things of Star Wars, where George Lucas is telling like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, and he's kind of making up the lore of Obi-Wan's character as they're in like the dressing room, and he's putting on the scene. He goes, well, maybe this would symbolize with the thing where he had invented it, but he hadn't flushed it out in a way where once Disney buys you for like $3 billion, and now, I mean, there's books of like every little thing within the Star Wars universe, and I go, you know what? I got on board the Star Wars universe years ago. I wanted to. I hope that they do more. The one thing that you wonder about with Disney Plus taking over is how will they do it now in a way of like after 40 years, some movies are already being remade. Like Aladdin goes from the cartoon to a live action version, right? Well, with Star Wars, it's different because it starts off as the original. But would they ever remake the very first Star Wars? No, that doesn't make sense, right? So it's
Let's
just
hope
instead
not.
of remaking, that Mark Hamill, and well, although they did go younger, with making the one showing Harrison Ford, younger
Oh yeah,
Han Solo
Solo.
getting the name. But even then, I love that because I'm like I'm in on this universe, and I love like Woody Harrelson was in that, which was fantastic. I got excited seeing you know their young Han Solo meeting Chewbacca, for the first time, and everything that comes out like that. It's exciting to me. I'm sold. Years later, I'm not going to detach just because one part of the story is being oversaturated. Like Ahsoka, am I right on that? Ahsoka, or was it Ahsoka? Anyways,
Yeah, Ahsoka, yeah.
Ahsoka. Even if it wasn't as great in my opinion as like something else, but like Rogue One, I thought was fantastic, right?
Hmm.
And then the series Andor was phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
like Andor was one of the best things that has ever happened within the Star Wars universe, and so like they may not hit home runs with every single thing that they put out, but it's exciting that there's so much there from a movie that was made 46 years ago. That I don't
Hmm.
know. It's exciting. I can't wait to see what else happens, and uh, would I have done it exactly like them? No, but it doesn't matter because I didn't create it. If I ever get the chance to make a $10 billion franchise, then I'll get to do it my way. But as they're doing it, take my $10 a month. I don't care.
Well, Skippy, I appreciate your optimism. Uh, you have a nice positive perspective on this. I'm glad you do. I think something that just
I
offends
take
a
it
lot
you
of.
hated it though.
Oh
Did you hate
man,
it then?
no, no. You know what? You get caught up in it when you're watching it for the first time, but I have to say, I did not like them. I did not. I think the main reason I watched them at a young age, the sequel trilogy especially,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't understand as well as I do now. But I think the biggest insult to me, and I'm curious to see what you think about it,
Sure.
was that they kind of, I mean, I think you'd have to agree with me that they kind of bastardized Han Solo, Luke, and then they just kind of pulled the Emperor out of nowhere and undid just
Yeah.
a really serious uh, uh, um, horror that happened in the original trilogy that was very much so
Yeah.
important to Darth Vader, passing into the Force and moving on. And I mean, that was just, it was a huge motion when the Emperor died in Return of the Jedi. I mean, that was a big deal. That was such a redeeming factor. And I mean, that was sort of the chosen one prophecy there. I mean, he Anakin Skywalker killed the Emperor, and then I mean, he brought balance that way. So I don't know. I think them just pulling him out of nowhere and throwing him in Rise of Skywalker was a horrible choice, and I think they did a terrible
I
job
think,
doing it. But what do you think about like what they did with
well,
Solo, Luke?
I think I empathize the most with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, right? Where when they made their episodes on South Park about how George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were going and remaking and updating um, you know the Star Wars movies to include to change this to a this and everything like that, where their point was like, no, you can't. Excuse me, like stop changing these things that were a part of our childhoods to for the purpose of this and that. But even then, as they're making fun of it, they acknowledge that like, hey, it is their work and they have creative control over it. And so just because other people or PC culture comes along and wants to change the movie from this to this, it was their work. And so if they want to change it, they can. If they don't, they can do it that way. And so I don't know. I like that idea of getting to make fun of it while saying the reason why I'm making fun of it is because I loved so much what it was before you went in and did this and this to it, kind of thing. I mean, it's as fans, we love the shows and we get so passionate about it because of how much we love what it was that we saw as this. But you also have to remember like what it would be like to show someone that doesn't have your same connection to it. Like if a 10-year-old that didn't know about the Star Wars universe and all the lore came in and watched it, would they get the same feelings by watching this movie as you did as a 10-year-old watching it for the first time with you? But when we watch these things, we bring our baggage of years worth of having crapped on it because of this and this and our experiences, as opposed to like it's still fun and exciting. I mean, Michael Bay movies aren't great movies, but like things get blown up, and it's like fast cars or spaceships and explosions, cool, bright lights, loud noises, yay, and if people are having experience like that, then but you can't please everyone all the time, and ultimately we prove whether or not we love something by the box office receipts, right? Because like if something doesn't make money, they won't keep making more. But I loved Solo, a Star Wars story. I wish that they had done one for all of the other main characters we loved,
Hmm.
but box office wise, others didn't love it. Okay, so I was in the minority on that one, but I thought it was fantastic, and I really did enjoy like the last three, no matter how cheesy they were. I mean, for me, it's always weird when they do like the Force. Like the fact that they could pass the lightsaber from one person to another, right?
Yeah, that was
Wouldn't that have been really helpful in a different Star Wars movie, or like in one of the in the Anakin Star Wars when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan do like speed running, right? Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
remember
that
how
was
like at
unused
one point
ever
they're just like,
again.
hey, let's get there, and then they just force run to a place and then it never gets brought up again. Or in like the last three, the healing where Ray is able to
Ugh.
heal to this and stuff like that. And it's like, wait, where was that in the other ones? Okay, so there's things that don't make sense.
Mm.
Oh well, I was still take my money. I had fun at the movies, and I'm a sucker for a BB-8 and the newest like merchandising. Baby Yoda, I still can't get over the Mandalorian thing. I am a sucker for Mandalorian. I've loved every episode. The fact that I got to meet. He plays Gus Fring
Oh
in
yeah,
Breaking Bad
Giancarlo
movies.
Esposito.
Yes. And when I got to meet Giancarlo Esposito, I was freaking out because here he was getting to be in like two of my favorite shows that I've ever seen, being Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And then
Yes.
yeah, he's also you know in Mandalorian, and he's in so many of these other fun things. And so I don't know, as a fan, we love the people that get attached, and sometimes your favorite actor will be why you go and watch this thing, or why you wouldn't. Like, who? Give me two or three directors or actors that you'll go see their movies no matter what they make. Like, even if you hear that the movie is horrible, give me like two or three actors or actresses or directors that you'll go see it, even if you hear the reviews are horrible, but you're just such a huge fan of that person.
Well, I definitely say Scorsese. I love Scorsese's films, Martin Scorsese.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I saw Killers of the Flower Moon just because it was him. I love
Yeah,
good. He did Goodfellas, right?
yeah,
Yeah, he did
yeah,
Goodfellas. Yeah. I love a lot of his older stuff too.
yeah.
Tarantino, of course. Whenever he does the next
Tarantino was
thing.
the very first person that came to my mind of like, he could, practically film himself taking crap in a box, and as long as it's got like that killer score,
I could see him doing
and
that.
I know that Sam Jackson is gonna come in and say the F word, I'm gonna watch it. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I love old films. So like Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge of the River Kwai, Doctor
I was gonna say, are you
Zhivago.
talking like I was gonna say, are you talking old as in like 80s when I was still alive and born,
The
or no, no, I see what you're saying. Like Doctor Zhivago, 3 hours, but yeah, when I was like, I've only seen it once, but when I was like 15 or 16, I thought the same thing. I thought that Doctor Zhivago was amazing, and no, you're right. Like Lawrence of Arabia, Ben Hur, these epic movies, the Ten Commandments, Citizen Kane, like I don't know. I refer to Skippy and Love on YouTube as the Citizen Kane of cringe because I think yeah, it evokes a old school, happened a long time ago, before your time, but still is OG. So yeah, I completely agree. And it's fun for me to hear that from other people also when you see in their fandom where they are. Like if you ask someone who their favorite Superman is or who is their favorite Batman, like someone's going to say Adam West, from like the 1960s kind of thing, right? And then other people are going to be like ride or die with Christian Bale, and I could totally understand people that make a pitch for Robert Pattinson. There is a part of me that remembers, or I still think of Michael Keaton as being the oddest yet most satisfying person to play Batman, where like I thought that there's no way he would be good at playing Batman, and then all of a sudden you see him in the movie and it's like, oh, well, that worked out surprisingly well. And then in my opinion, there you got Ben Affleck, Batfleck, who is probably the quintessential Batman figure of like he really does look extremely rich. He really does look like not a young Bruce Wayne, but he looks like the cartoon version of Batman. And so even as you just talk with people of like their fandom through the years about things,
I love
yeah,
Ben
it,
Affleck's
it
Batman.
it tells a lot about, yeah,
I
he was
love
so great.
him.
And Henry Cavill was amazing as Superman, but
Wasted
yeah, this
opportunities, both of them.
man, why I root for the DCEU to catch up you know uh, to Marvel because those characters deserve greatness. I love Zachary Levi. I thought that Shazam, even though Shazam 2 wasn't as good as Shazam 1, but holy cow, Zachary Levi in that first Shazam movie was so funny and great at that. And uh, I wish that people could put egos aside and that there would have been a Black Adam and Shazam movie. That would have been incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I wish well for the DCEU too. I think James Gunn has it, but I think people just aren't. They're just not showing up to the movies anymore for these superhero movies. It's a shame. I think it'll come once they start making some better movies. Because once we get into the Marvel, I mean, I think they've had so many duds lately that
Well,
haven't
and
been
then the
particularly
streaming service
captivating.
thing also changes it. Well, when you have it streaming, where during COVID, I was so excited. My favorite, and I don't remember the exact date, right? But I was so overly excited for the Zack Snyder the Zack
The
Snyder
Snyder
Justice
Cut,
League
yeah.
being released during COVID was incredible. That during the pandemic, that you could watch the Snyder Cut at home on the same day as it was out in theaters. And it really does change it because there's not a uh, I'm sure that I should have seen it in IMAX in a theater, but at the same time, being able to have seen the Snyder Cut and that it came about and that it was actually done, and I don't know, like it makes me long for the what's the we're just the Quentin Tarantino uh, long cut of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Mm.
because they said that like even though it was like 2.5 hours long, that Quentin Tarantino's like first draft of it that he showed was like almost 4 hours long, and that and there's some like A-list celebrities that had small parts in that movie that got cut out, and their parts were in the cutting room floor. So I mean, like, I wish that they would show both versions. I would love to see the director's cut of every movie that I love. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I
I,
don't
I
know.
was a big fan. I like the Snyder Cut. I thought the Snyder Cut was particularly
It's
interesting.
incredible.
I
It's
don't think they
incredible.
showed it in. Did they show it in theaters when it released? I
Yeah,
don't
it was
remember.
released. It was released in theaters the same day it was released on IMAX,
Oh, okay.
or I mean on
On
HBO
yeah,
Max.
HBO Max. Yeah, it's like 5 hours long, isn't it? It's really
Yeah,
long.
yeah, 3.5 hours long. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind if it's really long, if it's really good.
exactly.
But that's what it's like with Lawrence Arabia and those old films. I mean, they're long, but I mean, it's like
Yeah.
reading a novel.
My question for you is, how much is the most you've spent to to meet a celebrity? And then what were your favorite both paid experience and then also like not paid experience
Hmm.
of running into people, whether it be at a Comic Con, where they were like on their way into a building, because that happens sometimes, or maybe you're just like in New York or you're in LA and you happen to run into them that way.
That's a good question. Well, let's see. Unfortunately, I haven't had very many non-paid experiences with celebrities. I just don't get those opportunities. That's so cool you got
Totally
to do that with
understandable.
Sundance. But I think the most I ever spent, I never spend that much on pictures. Like the photo ops, I think it's like ridiculous how you could, I mean,
Yeah,
it's like Hayden Christensen, it's like $250 for a picture. I mean,
yeah,
unfortunately, there's no real value to that,
yeah.
other than your own value. But I did spend a lot. I got to meet Hayden Christensen and I got his autograph on that poster back there, but that was $200. But that I would
I
not
get it.
spend any more than
He
that.
played Darth Vader. I mean, he's like, there's only 3 or 4 people who have ever played Darth Vader. Well, aside from the voice actors, but I mean, it's James Earl Jones, I forget the guy's name that was
Dave
in the
Prowse.
actual Dave Prowse
Um,
and Anakin. I mean, and then Jake, what's Jake's name? Who
Jake
played like little
Lloyd.
Anakin?
Yeah.
Jake Lloyd. Yeah, I mean, like, but I mean, it's like one of on the Mount Rushmore of movie villains. Darth Vader is like one of the 4 movie villains or like bad guys in cinema of all time,
Oh yeah.
and there's only like 4 or 5 actors to have ever played him, in like the 46 years, 46, 47 years that it's been around. Yeah, that's a big one. I totally get it.
Well,
It's
and
iconic.
something I like about the autographs is that they had, they retain their value too. So it's more like I kind of consider it an investment. And it's sort of similar to like what you do, Skippy. My dad and me, we go to cons and we meet well, we
Yeah,
met a lot of actors and we see a lot of people. And man, I definitely know you know what I'm talking about here. We see a
yeah,
lot of people like they go up and they spend money to meet people to meet the actor,
yeah,
but they don't ever say anything and they don't have anything planned. My dad and me,
yeah,
we have a repertoire. We're
yeah,
trying to get every bit of that juice out and get
yeah.
a good experience.
If
So we've
if
had a
you're
lot
gonna
of good
spend
ones that
200,
way.
you want it to be a minimum, right? Yeah,
Yeah. And
totally get that.
I mean, that's something that I respect about you a lot is, I mean, you got something ready, you got something to talk to them about, and it might not be the most fruitful conversation, but you know what? You put the effort out there, and that's commemorable, definitely.
If someone's like us and they love this, look up Sundance Skippy. A guy came up to me at the 2009 Sundance Film Festival, and he had seen me up there for a couple of years and said, like, and so again, my first Sundance was January of 2003. Was my first time attending the Sundance Film Festival, but I was doing it uh, as I've been invited or I was asked to drive around people, be a gopher boy on Project Greenlight 2. And so I couldn't take photos with celebrities, but suddenly I'm at this place where, like, literally I got to sing with Ben and J-Lo. I mean, it's a crazy story that sometimes it's better told off this way. Otherwise, it'd take forever to tell. But when I realized, oh, wait, these celebrities are coming to Utah, and if I'm not working, I can just come up and meet them. Okay, well, I'm going to do that, and then fast forward all these years later, and I'm still doing it. And so when you get the chance to see these people, even if you don't recognize them, sometimes, but you know that there's someone, and that they'll one day be someone big. Like I met this actress that was in a movie with. I was a big fan of the show called My Name Is Earl, and in My Name
Mm.
Is Earl, there was a lady that played like the town hooker, and the actress's name was Dale Dickey. So she was like an older lady that in a podunk town would be the town hooker. Well, she was in this movie called The Lovely Bones, and she said, "Hey," because I freaked out on her and was like, "Oh, I love My Name Is Earl, and my name's Skippy, and I come up and meet celebrities and stuff." And she goes, "Well, Skippy, you're gonna want to go get a photo with those 2 girls over there." And one was a girl named Heather Sorry. Oh, I'm blanking out on her name, but I'm annoyed at myself for having forgotten her name, but I got a photo with her and this other actress, a young up and coming girl who later went on to be Katniss Everdeen, right?
Oh
Like,
wow.
holy crap. Yeah. And so like here I was getting to meet Jennifer Lawrence before people really knew who she was. Like she had been on the show Reba was like her biggest credit, prior to that. And either that year or the year before, I met this young actress that was in a movie with. I love the show The OC, and so Adam Brody from The OC was in this movie with this actress named Kristen Stewart, who this one paparazzi guy goes, "Oh, did you get a photo with that girl?" And I go, "Oh, she's in the Adam Brody movie." He goes, "Yeah." She also just got done filming the Twilight
Oh,
movies. And I go,
wow.
"What's that?" And he goes, "You've never read those books?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Trust me, you'll want to get a photo with her." And so sure
Wow.
enough, like no one was around Kristen Stewart at all. And then the next time she was up at Sundance, she was impossible to. I mean, like she was surrounded by people, and everywhere she
Mm.
went, she was huge. And so there's this documentary on my channel called Sundance Skippy, where a guy named Mark Finchengren, who had recognized me from coming up, and goes, "Hey, has anyone ever recorded you?" And I go, "Not really." He goes, "Can I follow you around with cameras?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Sure."
wow.
And he's like, "I won't get in your way." And so then he filmed me for the rest of the film festival. But that year was incredible. I mean, like James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano, right?
Oh, wow.
He and I had a really fun interaction.
I don't know if you could tell. I think there's a lot of different reasons for why Marvel is just unfortunately in a decline. But I mean, if you look at Phase 4 here and you see the different movies and series that came out, I mean, there was a couple winners in here, but most of it, I think a lot of just the Marvel fandom slowly drew away from Marvel because of these. Is there anything in this list that you particularly liked or like didn't like?
No, I actually loved so much of the list. Like as I'm looking at the things, uh, I'm such a sucker uh, for all these things. Like I loved uh, Shang-Chi, right? Because of I think my fondness for Shang-Chi was because of how they were able to take a character that I knew less about that character than I had about anything else in the MCU, right? And when watching it, I think it was also special because I was working with adults with autism, and we got to see a movie every like Tuesday was discount movie day,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I ended up seeing the movie like 6 times because you
Oh my
would
gosh.
sometimes have clients at different times, and then
Hmm.
over the so I had one client that got to see it one day, another client that got to see it for the evening, and then there was a week when because no other new movies were out, they sent us back to watch it. Kind of thing. Anyways, so I ended up seeing it a bunch of times. I remember loving how within this crazy superheroes movie that you could have a fun story about uh, a character with abilities that were just enough different from the other ones, that fit the Marvel formula of like a wisecracking friend, a cameo from another person within the Marvel universe. You tack in something in a post credits kind of thing, but it checked all the boxes for me.
So
In
you
that
like the formulaic kind of
I
Marvel effect?
I I get that people get oversaturated with it, right? And they want something new, but at the same time, it's like any even think of what would be your version of like the worst Marvel movie that they have put out. I mean, like
Mm.
the last one, it's not Marvel per se, is it? But the three future Spider Women
Oh,
movie.
Madam Web.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one notwithstanding, right? But you think of like all the other Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 movies. If those had come out, we're so spoiled. This is what I'm saying, we're so spoiled by Marvel movies and how many we've had and how great some have been,
Yeah.
that have been not just great for a comic book movie, but like, in my opinion, best picture of the year category. I cried so hard at the end of Endgame.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
like that moment at the shot that they had going through like all of our people as they're saying goodbye to Iron Man. I spent 20 movies, an X number of hours watching this thing. So yeah, I'm crying during that, and the acting and the laughing and all these emotions that you feel, that like, yeah, there's gonna be some that aren't as great, but that's because you've got 20 other movies to choose from, And why would they stop making movies that are just like printing money for them? I mean, like every
Yeah.
time you make a movie and you know that just even like putting it on a screen or something, like they'll all make their money back. I mean, do any of them even in like She-Hulk? I don't know how much money it did, but it was on a streaming service, and you would assume that even though that's not an in theater thing, that made money for them, right? And I thought that it was really pretty funny, but we're also so spoiled in that like prior to the Iron Man movie and the Norton, the oh, why am I blinking on it? The Hulk movie, not James Norton. He was Hulk
Ed Norton.
before Ed Norton. Yes, like so. If you say that the Ed Norton Hulk movie kicked off, because it's either that or Iron Man. One of those
Yeah,
two
yeah.
movies was the kickoff for the Marvel that we know now. But if you had put out like even I would say like my least favorite of the Thor movies was the second one, right? Even if you put out
Yeah.
the second the Thor 2 movie out like 5 years before, it would have been like one of the biggest movies ever because of just like, holy crap, here we're getting to see like real life version of Thor in a cinematic thing, and it's not in it's HD and it's all the wonders of the comic books come to life. Like there was just something magical about when the MCU comes out and technology and writing and directing and big budgets came together to make these movies that were just some of the funnest, most entertaining, and then a storyline, and you care about everyone, and it goes on. And so it's like, how were they going to end that? Should they have ended all of it on Endgame? I don't blame them for keep going. Like there's still stories to tell, and there will be other things. As I look at as what you got on Black Widow, I loved it. It should have come out like 10 years before because Black Widow is a great character that I would love to have seen like a whole movie just about her family. The David Harbour who played her
Red
dad
Guardian, I
in
think.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Red Guardian. I would have loved to have seen like an entire movie just about his character. The Eternals is the one that
Oof.
I understood why there was just too many characters and we think there's like a lot of characters in everything else, but between the fact that the Eternals had to say that like, wait, before you even get into the multiverse, uh, the 7 or 10 or however many superheroes they were
Yeah, they
had
were
to
all
learn
so
all their
forgettable too. Also
yeah.
forgettable. The villain was so lame. I mean, just a CGI mess. I don't know. I don't know how any of those
It
characters. They're not very relatable either. They were all just kind of stones.
and it came at a time when you had just wasn't it like uh just after we had seen like uh Endgame. I mean, not right after, because obviously the following Endgame was the Spider-Man movie where Peter Parker gets to have like everyone, that fun story of getting that back in. You had Gyllenhaal with those guys, but Iron, just when Eternals comes out, people felt uh overwhelmed with how many heroes were in the Endgame fight, and now you've got this one show that goes, oh, well, we've got the same number of the Guardians of the Galaxy plus. Uh, I, I'm not sure how to say it. It was just too many people, and it wasn't as fun. Even though, again, it's another movie where I think that if you had gone back, um, if you had put it in the rotation uh, 10 years prior, people probably would have loved it.
Hmm.
Maybe not. I
I
don't know.
think
It
I
just
think a problem people have with a lot of this, and I think you sort of mentioned it in your in what you said was that of course, man, these things are money printing
yeah,
endeavors. I mean, and it kind of shows though. I think that there just isn't much creativity here anymore. I remember going into Eternals pretty optimistic because
yeah.
I thought it was an interesting idea. I mean, you get a whole new team of like real superheroes and in a
Angelina
world we haven't
Jolie.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know, just unlike in the Celestials, I think there's a lot of
actors that are
potential there.
great. Like I love Kumail Nanjiani. I love the show Silicon Valley on HBO that Kumail Nanjiani was on, and I went to. I lived in LA for a very short time, but while I was out there, I went to the Meltdown, his comedy thing that he does, and then also in that cast you have like up and coming. And Barry Keoghan is in that cast, and Barry Keoghan
Hmm.
is he's the next Joker.
Joker,
Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm the cast of it was great. How it didn't do well, obviously something was missing, but you had lots of elements that a person could like. So even if you didn't enjoy the movie, there was things worth loving within the movie. And I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Didn't like Falcon Winter Soldier very much. I think one thing I did like a lot was and I don't think they were trying to make him likable. And I don't think he was likable because he was like a good person or anything, but the villain, I loved him.
Yeah.
US
Oh,
agent Wyatt Russell.
Zemo,
Oh,
Zemo. I
Zemo
love.
was good too. I
Oh,
was
I
talking
thought you
about
were talking.
Wyatt Russell's character. I can't remember his name. I know
Yeah,
it
no.
US
I
agent
loved.
is like the actual character's name, but
Yeah, Wyatt Russell was great in that part. Didn't you think? Did you like his acting in it?
Huh?
He's the Wyatt Russell, the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie
Yeah.
Hawn, right?
Yeah.
So like genetically and like his history in Hollywood, plus like just genetically, the guy is, gifted. I don't know. He has like a lot going for him on and off screen. Plus, I've met him a few times up at Sundance. Wyatt Russell is just like such a good dude. Excited for him. But that was also I watched one of the making of things, and they had to make his costume to appear so it was unsettling, so that like when people looked at
Hmm.
the character, they're like, wait, this doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
and I felt that. I
It
was like,
didn't feel
wow,
right. Yeah, it didn't feel
he
right.
looks really weird in that costume of his, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
like such a Captain America copycat, obviously. Here, let's move on to the
yeah,
next phase here. Let's start talking about
yeah.
this. So we
By
have
the way, I thought that Hawkeye was. I thought that I was surprised at how much I loved Hawkeye, and the What If was a fun, cartoony kind of thing. But the fact that I remember also crying in Chadwick Boseman's episode, because like we had just found out that
mm,
it happened during COVID. We had just found out that Chadwick Boseman had passed away, and there he was, like he got to lend his voice to the What If thing. I think that was his official last project right
yeah,
before he passed away.
yeah, it
So I mean,
sucks.
even that was even him adding his voice to What If was super cool. So yeah, I don't.
So now
Okay.
that we have some here, I thought that Spider-Man was also part of Phase 5. Maybe it was part of Phase 4. I'm not sure. I really like Spider-Man. Actually, why don't we real quick? Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Who's your favorite?
Probably Tom Holland.
Oh
It's
no,
but he
Skippy.
could. No, I get the reasoning for picking Tobey Maguire, who I'm assuming you're going to say. And I love Garfield too. But I think that I totally get why Tom Holland. Yeah, I'm going to say Tom Holland with. Although I think that you could also. I would say that it wouldn't be too horrible to say Jake Johnson, because I love, my favorite Spider-Man related movie is Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm,
Uh, Miles Morales, and that story, cannot wait for the part two
mhm.
of the second/third movie to come out. But I love everything about that, and and Jake Johnson playing the Spider-Man that had been through a divorce and was
Oh, the
wanting,
Peter, yeah.
was playing the Peter Parker who was trying to coach the young Miles Morales into being the best Spider-Man that he could be. I loved that version of the character, which was my favorite iteration of all of the people. But I'm just a huge Jake Johnson fan. Like him on The New Girl, his voice, everything that he does, he can do no wrong in my mind. But
Did you watch
yeah,
Secret Invasion or Echo by chance?
I did, and everyone can hate on it. I also get why they would make it. Could not stand that scene of Daisy Ridley flexing her arm and having like the what's his name, the Dave
Oh,
Batista
what's her face? Not Daisy
arm,
Ridley. I can't
or
remember her name. It's a Game of Thrones
yeah,
lady. What is
yeah,
it? I
not
don't
Daisy.
remember. We know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Queen of
that was
Dragons
awful.
from,
They
yeah,
completely
when she,
butchered Super Scroll. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked great. He had the
yeah.
powers. But yeah,
Well, and do
what
do
an
you read the
absolute
comics then?
waste.
Because I don't read the comics, so I
Mm-mm.
didn't know
I've
the
known, you
some
know
of
what,
those characters.
I've grown up learning about these characters, and
Okay.
my dad's real into them, and I would read about them. I liked reading about them in the
Do you actually
encyclopedias
collect
and
comic
watch
books then?
videos. I used to. I was into the Star Wars comics more so than Marvel, but I mean,
Wow.
Super Scroll. I mean, that was a huge threat, and what a charismatic villain against the Fantastic Four. I don't know. I thought they butchered that in there. And then in Echo, I'm glad I didn't watch Echo, but what I heard that she did to Kingpin, that just
Hmm.
it kills me thinking about that at the end of the series. She sort of I don't know, like got in his head or something and made him like ball out crying. I don't know. It's just not a good look for
Well,
Kingpin.
I love the actor who plays King Pin,
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio. He both because his sister had a restaurant here in Utah that I would go to, and so even though I've never met him, I've talked to his sister like 15 different times, kind of thing, and she's absolutely amazing. And even though I didn't get to meet him at it, he would once a year have a rally where he would be on a motorbike, and they would raise money for police charities here in Utah, because I guess he had an experience where policemen helped him and his family, right? And so he would do
Nice.
a charity bike ride, proceeds going to help police, kind of thing. And he would come to his sister's restaurant,
Oh wow.
so they would like meet in the parking lot, kind of thing, and then do like like drive to it. And for whatever reason, for the 3 years that I was aware of it, I was busy doing so I still haven't met him, but I was excited when I saw the photo of him, both because I enjoy meeting celebrities and because he is an incredible actor. And when I think of the character Kingpin, he plays the part to a T. You know, I mean, like
Oh yeah,
regardless of what's written for
he
it,
was
it's like
awesome.
he is one of the greatest. I don't. It's tough for me to think of anyone in Hollywood that could have played Kingpin better than him, kind of thing.
You
You know,
watched
when
Daredevil then, I imagine
yep,
Netflix. Yeah, that was
the Ben
great.
Affleck one. Yeah, when they had Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin, it's like not just because he was black, you know, but it's like I didn't get the um, intimidation that the character Kingpin
Well,
deserved. Whereas
did you watch the Netflix
the
series with
Punisher,
Charlie
yeah,
Cox?
well, yeah, well, and the one with what's his name?
Oh yeah, John
Uh,
Bernthal, Punisher.
yeah, John Bernthal. That
Yeah, he was
scene
good.
when he fought Kingpin, when they're going that the John Bernthal,
He's amazing.
incredible. Yeah, everything. I love all those. Oh, it's so much fun to think of like how many people that you can love and how when you go to a Comic Con, you know, you can get like 100 stars and go, oh, I love you in this and this because we do watch them for hours in these
Yeah.
shows. Like I enjoyed the Echo show. I can appreciate that there's when they give a because I have family members that have that are sign language interpreters, and when I was chose a language, you know, to speak in high school, you know, like when you can choose like Spanish, German, Russian, I chose American Sign Language camping, and I love
Mm.
that in Echo, there's a character who is a badass that both checks the box of Native American and checks the box of sign language, and the show may not have been uh, I mean, insert what your favorite other streaming Marvel was, but it's been tough because even like Miss Marvel and that show was fun, and it's not made for me. You know, like I'm a
Mm.
Marvel fan, but like I'm not Indian and I'm not teenage girl, but I love Marvel, and so me watching a show where the character gets to have Marvel powers and having a girl empowerment thing, I'm not who they would be targeting per se, but I love Marvel, and so I'll go see it because I do want to see the tie-ins, and I enjoy a good. This person was in this, and eventually, so that when I see the next thing that they're in, I can be like, oh yeah, I saw that. So I'll watch all of it, hoping that something. I mean, like I love WandaVision and love the actress Catherine Hahn, and so when WandaVision 2 slash the Agatha thing comes out, I will happily watch that because I enjoyed the first go around from WandaVision, and I want to see what happens there. And you hope that something happens in the multiverse to, like, I hope uh, that they have a show that then brings everything back. But I'm not sure if that's true of the comics, of where we go, okay, enough of this, like telling too many of these stories. Let's get back to, you know, having some of our A-list characters having more A-list adventures kind of thing. But who knows if that will happen again?
I
Like,
think a
will
big
we
problem
ever
with a
get?
lot of these shows, I like what you said. I think it's true. You know, I think Miss Marvel definitely isn't written for like like a 20-year-old dude to watch. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think it's for anybody that wants to enjoy it, but I mean, I think it's made for younger audiences, obviously. I think the problem is when and I don't find that show to be offensive at all, but I think the problem is when like in Secret Invasion or well, let's see, what was another one? Or like Echo, when they take characters like Nick Fury or like Kingpin, and then they just
hmm
kind of, I don't know, they belittle them. I don't know. I think Nick Fury in Secret Invasion was kind of a joke. And I mean, he used to be this really badass guy that, you know, he was the leader of the Avengers. I mean, he was big shit. And out of
it
nowhere,
was
he
kind
just
of cool
loses
to see
all
that he
his
married a Skrull,
command.
though.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Like,
he did
not knowing
the
anything about
show
his
was taken
private
away
life, I
from
guess
him in
that.
that, I thought. And then in Echo, you see poor Kingpin just get completely emasculated by Echo, and I
Yeah,
don't know. I think you could only watch so much of that. But let's move on to real quick. I think unfortunately,
he'll make you come back though. The
and
character will make you come back because you still have the Jessica Jones. Uh, aren't they going to be doing like a thing where all the like lesser known? I mean, like I thought Jessica Jones was great, but then they had like the what was it? They had the one series, didn't the Iron Fist and Jessica
yeah,
Jones and Luke Cage all come
yeah,
together
what was
kind of
that, the
thing? Like if they,
Defenders?
yeah, like if they do, if they find the right way, you know, if they can get out of their own way and do something uh, and tell the right story. And that's the other thing about all this is none of this will matter once they get the right writing and directing uh, kind of thing, and also couple it with a director that cares about the source material. Because
Yeah,
like
that's
if
true.
you're telling me that Quentin Tarantino directed an episode of Echo, you would have loved it, you know, because just like it's Quentin Tarantino, and you trust him that he's
Hmm.
not going to make something crap. So it's like
Yeah.
you may not have had the right combination of the thing come along yet, but there's going to be someone that tells it or the story in a way that's going to be refreshing. I mean, like, how many of us had high hopes for Wonder Woman, but then Patty Jenkins plus Gal Gadot equaled one of like the best comic book movie. I thought the first Wonder Woman, especially not 1984 so much, but the first Wonder Woman was
Yeah,
phenomenal.
the first
And
one was
so,
good. Yeah, the first one was good.
yeah,
Well,
all young girls.
I think you're definitely right. I think that's the problem though. These writers, they just don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if you've seen, like, I follow a lot of guys that aren't the biggest fans of what Marvel's been doing, and
Mhm.
they pull up clips of time and time again, especially of these Disney Plus series, of interviews of the writers and directors and cast members saying that they avoided the comics, they avoided the source material, they were told not to look into it or to understand it, and that just seems like an insult to everybody. I mean, looking at who created the content and just completely disregarding it. Because I mean, gosh, just like Kathleen Kennedy, she disregarded, saying that there
Mhm.
was no source material for Star Wars. But I mean, there was a mound of source material in the EU in the books, and I mean, the same goes for the comics. I think that's what particularly frustrates fans is that they kind of, I don't know, they deliver this really, I don't know, bland, watered down stories that don't have any real value or meaning. Even though, despite the fact that there's tons of great stories that exist and that are popular already amongst comic book lovers that they could adapt.
Well,
But
and
I think
everyone needs to get excited about it, um, too. Like, you can always understand why the person who's top, the top billed person is into it, because it's like, even if it isn't great, who doesn't want the money and to have the series after them, right? So you get why the top person on the call list is there, because it's like, hey, a crap ton of money to play a character, even if it's not great, it's still a, how many times are you offered a starring, to have your name be on a poster or something that could potentially be great. So you understand why that person's there, and then you hope that when you're signing on, because like, no one, it's never a sure thing, obviously, right? Like, making movies is a crapshoot where something that seems like it's going to be like the best thing can turn out to be a turd. And sometimes, like, to get diamonds in the rough, and finding a Taika Waititi directed movie, like, one of my favorite of all the MCU movies is the third Thor
Ragnarok.
movie, where you let Ragnarok, where you let Taika Waititi turn over or take over the reins, and all of a sudden he brings like a freshness, and it was so fun and funny. And I was like, okay, this is my favorite Marvel, and uh, I haven't ever sat to think like, I'm not going to rank all of the Marvel movies out there, but it's a top three favorite Marvel movie, and the difference between it and so many of the other ones is that they gave Taika Waititi the freedom to make a Taika Waititi movie that just happened to be within the Thor genre. And so, like, anytime that you let these people that have done something amazing with other projects use their same style and come over. I mean, Sam Raimi, the
Yes, I
the
love
Sam
Sam
Raimi
Raimi.
versions of movies. I don't know. Are you excited for the new Blade movie to come
The
out?
new
And
what?
the Blade, the
Oh, I haven't
Mahershala
watched the
Ali.
Blade movies. I need to watch those. I hear good things.
Go
Wesley
back and
Snipes,
watch.
right?
Yeah, go watch the old ones. And Mahershala Ali, who's a great actor. I'm really looking forward to. You hope that he does that, not just he does for it, but that it does for him what it deserves. Because like the first Blade movies were just great, and Wesley Snipes was such a badass, and uh, I don't know, like Ryan Reynolds. How great Ryan Reynolds is when you get a like the first version of Deadpool that he did versus the second version is, the main difference is like the creative people and allowing them to do it in their style instead of forcing them to do it into your style. I think is the difference between okay, good, and potentially phenomenal.
All right, Skippy. So our last piece of conversation I want to have here is talking about modern day Hollywood, and I was wondering what you think is the issue, or what you believe is the cause for this, because I think it's pretty obvious this is just a small representation of just how many sequels there are this year. I don't think we're seeing very many original adaptations of anything new coming out this year. In particular, these are just a few, but I know there have been some good new solo movies. I really liked Iron Claw. I loved Iron Claw, actually. I don't know if you've seen that, but as you can see, just a few here, but there's just tons of sequels coming out. I mean, Deadpool is another one of them. Yeah, there it is on there. What do you think the reason for this is? Do you think it's just money? Do you think that Hollywood just lacks the creative drive that it used to have? What do you believe is the reason for this?
The whole reason why they put out so many sequels or prequels to things is because of that member berry nostalgia. It seems to make pretty good sense that if unique something property, right? If a unique property comes along that people enjoy, that the companies that make that want to wring as much money as they can out of people's nostalgia to it, and that's how you get the Ghostbuster movie. Like
That movie was rough.
they're obviously not. I thought that I haven't seen the latest one. I heard that it is that of the two latest ones that it's not as good as the first of the two, but I didn't mind the new one, and I had hope for it. I remember tons of people back when there was word of it coming out, even if you hadn't seen the trailer for it, of people getting excited that that Paul Rudd was going to be redoing or becoming a part of the Ghostbusters world again, and that they were bringing that back. And it's like, oh, okay, they're bringing back Ghostbusters. But do you watch the YouTube channel by Ryan George called Pitch Meetings,
Mm-mm.
where he pitches? You haven't?
No.
I'm about to give you hours and hours of enjoyment. Okay, go to YouTube, type in Pitch Meetings. Right, Ryan George is a hilarious Canadian who, with glasses on and glasses off, plays producer guy and writer guy. Right, where he goes through and he pitches the ideas of movies and how they get a movie made. Right. So it's like, so you have a new Ghostbusters script for me? Yes, sir, I do. And he then proceeds to pitch why producer guy should make this movie because he's the writer. And so as he's going along in like these anywhere between like short ones are 3.5 to 4 minute long to like I think the longest one is like 8.5 minute long. These YouTube pitch meeting videos humorously points out the movie flaws, like humorous things. It's kind of like do you watch Honest Trailers?
Yeah, I used to watch them. Yeah, they were pretty funny.
It's like a one person version of Honest Trailers where critiques the movie. And pitch meetings are the best. But as you if you think about so many of the movies and someone were to pitch the idea of a movie to you, you're like, oh well, when you break it down like that, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound but somehow it could go on to become a classic. And that's the thing. If something is done right, it uh it doesn't matter. And so I mean that's why we talk about some sequels as some of the greatest movies ever made. I mean, like I would argue that the Heath Ledger Batman movie
Oh yeah,
is
of
one of
course.
the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah.
And yet, if someone said to you after seeing the first Christopher Nolan Batman movie that they were making a second one, why would you tamper with that movie when it was so good? I
Hmm.
mean that first Christopher Nolan Batman movie, with Liam Neeson in it, and Christian Bale was a really, really good movie. Why would you even risk coming back and giving it a sequel? Because you don't want to have it be bad. But if you get the right person and doing it, and so between the member berries and the high risk, high reward kind of thing, where you can maybe get something, and plus, I think we all love a great 3 movie thing. Like
Yeah, the
it's funny.
trilogy.
Yeah, trilogy, maybe that's the word. But we love a great trilogy, and we love comparing those kind of things. And I think we also love rooting for characters that we like, especially if it was great in the first one. You hope that they can get the team of people back together or something, and they find they strike gold again. And then there's also movies like with the 007 franchise where when they remake something and they put a different actor in, it's worked. And I mean, granted, it's been like 70 years since well, how many? It's got to be over 50 years since the first Sean Connery Bond movie came
Yeah.
out, right? But I mean, so you figure in 50 years and like 20 something movies, they're going to get it right a couple of times. But still, they've had a lot of really good James Bond. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a single James Bond that they've had that I thought like, oh, that's a horrible James Bond. I like Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. Go down the list,
Hmm.
and I have confidence that they'll even if they weren't all the greatest, but when you have 23 movies out, some are going to be better than others. But just I don't if the if you trust or you enjoy them, and if not, just don't go. I'm not going to see the second Dune movie just because Dune isn't my thing, unless it's like free
I'd go
on one of
see
the
that
streaming
one.
services.
I thought
But
that Dune 2 was great. I was surprised. I wasn't a big fan of Dune 1, but I like Dune 2 a lot.
I didn't enjoy the story of the first one, and so anyways, I'm not optimistic about the second one, but I'll probably see it for free on a streaming service
Yeah.
some
I think it's
night.
on Max now. I'm not sure
Okay,
where
yeah,
it's
I just
coming on
haven't
there. Have you seen any of
Yeah,
these? Because I tell you, I loved Kung Fu Panda 4. I saw Kung Fu Panda 4. I loved that one.
I
I
haven't, but
thought
I love all the other ones.
Ghostbusters
Yeah,
was horrible. I thought it was terrible. The
yeah.
Godzilla
The pitch
Kong,
meeting part's funny.
I saw the
Yeah.
Godzilla Kong movie, and it was the worst in the Godzilla series.
How was
I,
Furiosa? Did you see that?
no, I
Has it
don't,
come out yet?
no way. I don't want to see that. I'm not a big fan of Anya Taylor-Joy. Everybody likes her. I don't really like her.
She was
Uh,
pretty great in the Queen's Gambit. I thought that
yeah, I
was
never watched that. I hear good things about that though.
yeah. Well,
But other
and
than that,
as
I
I'm
don't
looking,
really. I think Deadpool, man. I think you need to watch that Deadpool
yeah.
trailer, man. You'd love it. It's got, but you know,
Well, I'm
it
gonna
will
see it no
definitely
matter what.
ruin it.
I just don't want to get have anything spoiled for me. But I'm gonna see it no matter what because, but yeah. And I get when people get oversight. Do you ever go through phases where you then stop going to uh the movies or stop watching TV for a while, where you just kind of get like over?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
too much. It's like too much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Or you
So
just
you
get
go
too
find a
into
different
something, you
medium.
exhaust it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I
So
think I'm kind of that way
go
with the
find a different
theater.
medium. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think that
Take a step
I think
back.
a lot of this crazy stuff, because I think a lot of these are just, in my opinion, I think a lot of the stuff coming out nowadays is just shallow money makers. And I think you would definitely respect and understand. I mean, you're going to the Sundance film festivals. I mean, those are way more grounded stories, I imagine. But that's something I've
Well,
enjoyed
but even
about.
then, I stopped going to a lot of those films because like I you would go see a Sundance movie and knowing that with Sundance, there have only been I was talking with another fan like we could only think of like five uh, Napoleon Dynamite kind of movies that
Mm.
have come out that would be like something that mainstream audiences could see, but the rest of Sundance right has uh, dark content or the word edgy gets thrown around. I mean, even one of my favorite movies that I had seen up there, Mystery Team, done by Garrett Comedy, which is Childish Gambino's comedy group,
Mm.
which I absolutely loved. And there, when Mystery Team premiered up there, it has a couple toilet scenes in it that are like shockingly gross kind of thing, where I was just like, oh, if they had made it into a PG-13 style movie a little bit more, I think that it would have been seen by more people. But and I can't fault them; they did it the way they wanted to, and they found some gross out stuff that they made it their way, and yet they probably could have gotten it to be a little bit more palatable for the people that wanted to see Donald Glover in his like character from Community, you know, style of comedy, as opposed to yeah, there's a couple really gross out scenes, but then the rest of it is that PG-13 style comedy. Can we go back to who was your favorite and least favorite people that you've ever met? Because I know the Hayden Christensen one was the
Oh
most to
yeah,
pay for,
yeah.
but who was
So
your favorite?
he wasn't really my favorite I met.
Yeah,
He was the most expensive I met. My favorite I
yeah,
met was probably Carl Weathers. I had a really good conversation with Carl Weathers
yeah.
actually. Yeah, I got to meet him. I'll have
Okay,
to send you a picture. I painted a mural in Dayton of Rocky and Apollo Creed, and I got to show him the piece before it was a mural.
wow,
Like by a mural, I mean like a real mural, like on a
yeah,
building.
wow.
And before that happened, though, I met him and we had just my pops would be at him. We had a great conversation, and he just had. I mean, he was just like Apollo Creed, just confident, bold, very well spoken, and just dropped a lot of big
I loved
one-liners.
him
You
from the
know.
TV show Arrested Development. Did you ever watch
Oh
Arrested
yeah,
Development?
I watched that one clip of him with the
Uh,
stew or whatever it is.
yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
hilarious.
Go back and watch the show on Netflix called Arrested Development when it was on Fox. Um, like the first three seasons of it, when you talk about things that were like, oh, it was great, and then it was not so great later. The first three seasons of Arrested Development on Fox before it got canceled, and then it was impossible to get the entire cast back together, are some of the. It's one of the funniest TV shows of all time. Arrested Development. Go look that up for sure. Like Beat. I mean, like when you talk about shows that are like your favorite kind of shows, right? Drama wise, obviously, like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, but comedy shows, like
I'm
if
glad
people
Better Call
haven't
Saul's on
seen,
there.
oh, love Better Call
I
Saul,
love that
love
show.
there's so many great villains within that. Yeah, the Salamanca family,
Yeah,
you know,
Nacho and
Gus
Lalo and
Fring,
yeah,
just
Chuck.
just and then if you go watch the show Beef on HBO, right? You've got just these incredible people, the comedians. I don't know, just geniuses. Like getting a cast full of there are some celebrities that I've met and that I've kind of become friends with in real life in a way where I I don't know this is I could go off on stories about other things, but when I say that Thomas Lennon, aka Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911, knows who I am, and I have messaged him and his wife Jenny, and I know they're and like last time I saw him in real life was when he was like really young, but their son Ollie, and but then I've messaged Jenny and said, "Oh, say hi to Tom," and she'll say, "Oh, Tom says this kind of thing," because instead of messaging Tom and trying to get a message through his official verified things, right? When you just the weird things that Sundance has done over the years, where and David Koechner is one of my all-time favorites. He played he's Wham. He says Whammy, and he's also on The Office. He's Todd Packer on The Office, but David Koechner, and then
David Koechner.
Koechner.
Oh, okay.
Koechner. Yeah, like Dave Koechner, and then
I met him. He's great.
They are divorced now, but his ex-wife, I became friends with them, and he said to me one time, we talked about you at our dinner table as a family kind of thing, because like this is years ago, where I don't know, just this is a weird tangent. It's not worth telling now, but sometime if we were to ever talk about it, but like it's crazy to me that I've become friends with some celebrities, and not like I'm not saying that I've got like a slew of A-list celebrity numbers in my phone. I don't, but some of the people I've met and some of these fun experiences I've had, where my goal would to be one day get to incorporate my personality, because the one thing that I haven't really been able to do yet in my life is I haven't found a way to monetize my personality, where I've been on a couple of things, like me and my friend Matt won 20 grand on a game show, right? But that was like a one-time thing. And then I was on Virgin Diaries, but that was like a one-time thing, right? And then I was on like with Dave Grohl, like I got to be on Chelsea Lately with Dave Grohl, but that was a one-time thing. So like I've never been on enough things to be considered famous, like really famous. So I am fame adjacent in a weird way, of like, oh, if I was to be on something, there's enough, because like it's been months and months since anyone has like seen me in a store and gone like, oh, I recognize you from this, right? Like months and months. Whereas like actual famous people probably get stopped, but if you were even if it's been a long time since you were in a movie, you probably still get recognized if you go into a grocery store, because you're actually famous. So I don't consider myself to be famous, but I'm fame adjacent, and every now and again I've had things where people have recognized me. But I don't know, this is a fun interview, and if I ever one day get to get my YouTube channel going and things like that, I would hope that it can combine doing things like this, or getting to talk about pop culture and things that I enjoy. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
It's been great talking with you, Skippy.
But yeah,
it's fun having your perspective on all this too. I think people are curious. They want to know.
I hope you get 30 good minutes out of this.